Hello YouTube, I'm Done It's Over here, and today we're going to be doing a quick how to play video for the Force of Will Company's newest card game, the Caster Chronicles. And again, pardon the glare, it's the best I can do at this point, but this is going to be it's going to be a gameplay eventually in the segment, probably later today. And I just want to give a quick how-to video in English for all those who don't know how to play this game. And we're going to be using the Wings of Anger starter deck today for this particular segment. Alright, so you've got the starter deck. You can see unboxings online, so I'm not going to actually unbox. As you can see, I've got stuff already laid out. But I will show you the box, and that shows you the contents of the deck and everything right there. Yeah, it might... Anyway, you can see those on unboxings. Today we're just going to go over the types of cards and basic rules. Alright, for Caster Chronicles, you have 4 types of cards. 3 of them are used in your deck, and this one over here is just an extra. It's a sort of a token, if you will. If you go second in a game, this acts as a colorless mana that can be spent anytime you're to cast any of your cards. Alright, so it doesn't actually go in the deck, it's just awarded to the player who has to go second. So it gives you an extra mana boost. So we can get that card right out the way. That's already been explained. The 3 basic types of cards are, you have your casters here. We'll use this nice foil Passion Wing for the example here. And what a caster does is it can do one of 2 things. You can play 1 caster per turn as a resource, resource earning character. And it'll produce you 1 ether of its color, this being red, for each level that it indicates. There are level 1s and level 2 characters in this game. I'll dig one out of the deck in a minute to show you, but this is a level 1 Passion Wing, and what it can do is it can rest itself to generate 1 ether of the red variety to be able to summon any of the red ether cards. Alternatively, if you don't need it for its ether generation, you can also rest it for its ability. Target allied servant gains plus 500 attack until the end of turn. Now, abilities like this, as far as I'm aware and understand and have read, they are sort of like quick cast or quick play abilities. If you have this in your caster zone down here, and it has not been used for playing any of the other 2 types of cards, and it goes to your opponent's turn, and, for whatever reason they want to attack you or you attack them, you can rest this to increase your number before the battle total actually happens. But I'll tell you why this is not really a good example of that, because when characters battle, you have to meet or exceed the number, and defenders never can kill the attackers. Alright, so it's not exactly a good example, but there are examples, like in the purple deck, which is Arrogant Swallowtail, where its main character, I believe Glory Butterfly, can rest to add plus 500 defense. So this is more of an offensive style character, whereas the other one's more of a defensive style, and that works a lot better. Alright, moving on to the next type of cards, we've got a servant card, and you cast servants one of 2 ways, and you pay 4 for their cost. They all have varying costs or whatever. Only one needs to be of the same color. So when you play resources, you can play casters face up. You can only have 1 copy of any named caster. So you can only have 1 Passion Wing face up. So if you had other Passion Wings in your hand or whatever, you have to play them to face down. They will be able to generate you 1 colorless resource per turn. But seeing as everything requires at least 1 of its color to cast, you'll still have to cast... you won't be able to use it for any generic spell or anything like that. There's none of those as of yet. Alright, but anyhow, you have to spend 4 resources to bring this guy into play. Alternatively, in your break zone, which would be over here in your orb zone, you have 7 orbs. If your opponent were to select and break this as one of their direct attack orbs, it's got a break ability. And this allows you to immediately summon this character to the field in either attack mode, which would be face up, or defense mode, which is simply reversed. If you have a servant in reversed position here, your opponent cannot attack your orb zone directly. They have to deal with this unless they have an ability that states otherwise. Alright, which means your opponent is going to have to beat 1000 attack. So a 1000 attack into it will not beat this character. Unlike other card games where if you tie, the attacker would normally win. That is not the case in this game. You actually have to beat the printed number. Alright, so a 1000 can stop 1000s and lower for as long as you want them to. Alright, and the next type of card is a conjure. And again, it's got its cost up here, and then its ability down here. And this says destroy target enemy servant with cost 4 or less. Costs are right up there, so, again, very straightforward. These can be cast during your main phase, but if it has a quick cast text box, that means it can be played during your opponent's turn as well. This one does not. Alright, so we'll go right through the deck real fast and try to find a level 2 caster. And as you can imagine, being that they are your resource generators, there's going to be many different named casters in here. So I'll find a level 2 caster for Passion Wing, I believe. And I'll explain that real quickly. Where are you? Ah, there we go. She was upside down on the deck. Alright. Alright, this is a level 2 Passion Wing. And you can play one resource per turn, either a named caster face up or anything else that you want face down. But when you go to play this level 2 caster, you have to have a face up or face down caster of the same name in play. So for this instance, instead of playing another resource face down or face up, I can level this up by playing it over this already face up Passion Wing. Now, the card that goes beneath it goes into like its soul, I guess you could say. And it allows for other abilities. And a lot of these level 2 casters do have a secondary ability, aside from being able to produce now 2 ether of any given color, as well as having a tapped ability that's stronger than its predecessor. It has a even better ability, and usually they require a banish of another card of the same name. And this one says, banish another Passion Wing, destroy target enemy servant with cost 2 or less. And it's not a tap action, it's just as long as you've got a Passion Wing you can banish, you can do it. And you can banish cards only from cards you control on the field. Otherwise, it would be considered a discard. Alright, so if my opponent had a level 2 card on their side of the field or whatever, I could play this as my turn energy generator, and I can say I want to use the effect. I would banish this, sending it to the graveyard, and I could destroy one of their level 2s. And it doesn't take away from its mana count. It's still going to produce, or not mana, but ether rather, and it'll still produce 2 ether, so now I have 4 to spend. Alright, now the way a game actually starts using these characters, I'll give you a quick overview of that. And you shuffle the deck, 50 card deck, then you offer it to your opponent to cut. If they want to cut, they'll cut. Alright. And then you draw 7 cards to your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And immediately 7 cards into your orb zone. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright, so now I've got 7 cards in the hand, 7 cards in the orb zone. And the object of the game is to deal 8 damage to the opponent. And that is when you attack your opponent, you attack their orbs, and these are the backs of the cards. Yeah, they're kind of cool. Kind of like a twisted fairy tale marionette kind of thing going. But anyhow, you look at your hand from the opening go. If there's anything you know you won't be able to cast, or perhaps you have copies of the same character and same caster, you might want to think about shuffling them, and we'll perform a mulligan here just so I can show that off. We're not going to need this 6 cost Furious Dragon. And we'll probably part with, yeah, sure, this 5 cost Salamander. Now, unlike other games, the mulligan in this rule is, or in this game, you take your however many cards you want to put back into the deck, you organize them however you want to, and they go directly on the bottom of your deck. You don't shuffle the deck afterwards, they go right to the bottom. And then you draw however many you put back at the bottom, back into your hand. Alright, so we got that. The first player does not draw a card to start, so you will not. First player will not have 8 cards in their hand. They'll only have their 7, and they cannot attack on their first turn. All right, so we'll say I'm taking the first turn here, and I'll play this level 1 caster, Puretta or Paretta. I'll butcher the names. That'll just happen. I'm not that familiar with them. And obviously, I don't have any 1-costers I could play, or even if I would want to, since I can't attack. And now I would let it go to my opponent's turn. They would do the same thing, except this time they would have a draw. They would be able to play a caster. They'd be able to summon whatever they want to be able to attack me. Because they would be going second, they would also have access to an extra ether that once spent is banished, sent out of the game. So on their first turn, not only do they get a card draw, they could potentially spend 2 energy or 2 ether to be able to bring in a 2-cost character. Alright, so then turn would pass back to me. Say they did play a character. They would then target any of my orbs over here, since I have no defensive bodies on the board at all. So say they take the top one, right? Alright, so this would be a broken orb. And any card that comes from your orb zone, unless stated otherwise, if it comes to your hand. So my opponent essentially just gave me another card. You only die once you take a direct attack from, and you have no orbs. So giving your opponent cards is both the win condition, but it can also be bad because it'll allow them the ability to make a comeback and all. Then you come back to my turn. I would draw a card. I can play, let's see. Yeah, probably play Passion Wing here. And then I can summon anything that's a level 1 or a level 2. Alternatively, they have abilities that I might want to use. Yeah, I don't. So I would spend 2. I could play a character. Now, when you play a character, or when you play a servant, not a character, you can play it in 2 modes. You can play it in attack mode, which will be using just its attack power, or you can play it in reverse mode, and it would use just its defense power. This particular card here only has a 0 cost, so that might not be a good idea. Play that, but we have another 2-coster over here, this little match girl, which is both a 1,000 attack and a 1,000 defense. So if my opponent had, say, a 500, which most of these 1-costers tend to be, a 500 attack strength, I could decide to play this and attack into their monster, or their servant, or I can leave it in defense mode and make them come at me, come through my 1,000. Alright, and we just keep going back and forth, casting servants and playing conjures and dropping different named casters to the board until eventually there are no more of these cards left and your opponent gets off 1 direct shot, ending the game. Alright, and well, that will be, in short, a quick how to play of Caster Chronicles. This has been the Wings of Anger starter deck, just using as my example here. The wife and I and the kid probably will be doing some gameplay of this, hopefully today, and get it uploaded. It should be one of the first ever English gameplay videos for this. If so, that'd be awesome. You know, I enjoy being the first getting things out there. But until then, this has been I'm Done, It's Over. This is Caster Chronicles by Force of Will, the same people who make the Force of Will card game. And this has been I'm Done, It's Over. Have a good day, YouTube.